Despite the Chicago Bulls' elimination from the NBA Cup tournament after a loss to the Boston Celtics, a lot of people are still talking about the Bulls and their names in trade rumors. Casey Johnson actually backs a recent report in regards to the front office listening to trades. So we're going to talk about what the value of some of these players could be. We're also going to look at an article that calls for or says that Billy Donovan could be on his way to be fired. We're gonna talk about a little bit of things from that article. Plus, it's Saturday. It means it's the mailbag day, so we're going to do that, plus dive into the mailbag. All that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into the content for today. So after yesterday's news, the Chicago Bulls are listening to trade offers on most of their roster, however you take that. Casey Johnson tweeted this out. As for the trade chatter surrounding the Bulls today, none of this is new. Players have openly talked about the current reality dating to last season and again on Media Day this season. Following the offseason moves of DeMar DeRozan and Alex Caruso, the front office has consistently fielded questions on the subject. So, that's Casey Johnson's way of kind of saying, yeah, listen, they're listening to trade talks. Like, they're listening to trade conversations. They're entertaining trade conversations. And that's not anything that's any different from any other NBA front office. Like, yes, we hear the rumors and the rumblings and things like that, but best believe every front office has taken calls on trades, maybe even trades that they have no intention on actually taking, but it listens so that they know the value that's out there. That's part of the job of being in the front office. So the Bulls and the majority of their roster and the thing that came out yesterday and whatever, like, yeah, that's the norm really when it comes down to it. The question is are the Bulls finally going to pull some triggers? And that's the question when it comes down to it. And before they could do that, they have to know the value of the player to know what they're getting out in the market, thus listening to deals. Now, we also got, talk yesterday about what the perceived value is for Nikola Vucevic. I'm going to dive a little bit into that and then talk about some of the value that the other players may hold as well. When it comes down to Nikola Vucevic, yesterday in the same article, Jake L. Fisher wrote this. Nikola Vucevic's $20 million salary with a third and final season to go at $21.5 million in 2025-26 is far more palatable for teams to absorb. One GM told me he will put the two-time All-Star's likely price point in a trade at 2 second-round picks. Now, 2 second-round picks for Nikola Vucevic. Vooch is a 34-year-old center that is having one of his best seasons in a Chicago Bulls uniform. And some people may say that, hey, is that value too low for Nikola Vucevic? That initially was my perspective. And I'm going to look back at a specific trade, right? And again, I'm not necessarily comparing these players overall, but I do want to talk about the value. Now, this was a few years ago when Al Horford was traded to the Boston Celtics. When he became a Boston Celtic for the second time, that was in a trade, right? And when he was at the same age as Nikola Vucevic is now, he was 34 years old when that trade went down. And the Boston Celtics traded what became the 16th overall pick to get him and Moses Brown. They also attached Kemba Walker and a second-round pick of their own to get that trade done. Now, there were some other pieces and moving parts in that. But when you look at that, to get Al Horford, they traded a 16th overall pick to get him, and they got a young center in Moses Brown, who at that point was averaging 8-8 the season prior to that, but was an undrafted free agent who not really people knew what he was going to turn into. They ended up turning around and flipping him to Dallas later on. So, before, I don't think he ever even played a game for the Boston Celtics before he was flipped to the Dallas Mavericks. The rest is history there when it comes to Moses Brown. I actually think he just signed with somebody recently. But a 16th overall pick. Now, is that the value, right, that you can expect for Nikola Vucevic? Now, I thought that a maybe protected first-round pick, right, with protections that are likely for it to convey. You look at the season before Boston traded for Al Horford. He played 28 games that season. Well, he split that, 28 games for the OKC Thunder that season. He averaged 14 points per game. He averaged 6.7 rebounds per game in that time, 3.4 assists, right, basically still in a block per game. So, and we know that Al Horford defensively has always been much more sound than Nikola Vucevic. So you can't take away from that, right? But let's be clear here. Nikola Vucevic is one of the most efficient offensive players right now. His three-point shooting percentage has gone up. I think he leads the league in double-doubles, or he's right up there as far as double-doubles in the league. And so the value to me should be a little bit higher for Nikola Vooch. In no way am I saying you should get some like promising young player or so, but if we're just talking about draft compensation, to me, yes, a pick in the 20s should be around the value of Nikola Vucevic, in my opinion, not 2 second-round picks. Now, one could say in the upcoming draft, you get 2 second-round picks and get hit right on them. Maybe you can find some great talent. This isn't about that. This is about the value of the actual pick itself. And so hearing that, Vooch's value is expected to be around, or it will be put around 2 second-round picks, maybe that's just that one person that Jake L. Fisher talked to. But yeah, he's fourth most, I'm sorry, I had to correct myself, in double-doubles in the NBA. And when you look at it, he's been extremely durable over that time period as well. He provides floor spacing. He's a solid passer. So, yeah, I just think that Vooch's value should be a little bit higher than that. But 2 second-round picks, a late first-round pick, that's where I think the value of Nikola Vucevic should be right around. Then you look at Lonzo Ball. Now, Lonzo Ball is much harder to agree. Like, to hear that the Bulls are looking to trade, or that are open to trading Lonzo, Zach, and Vooch, that's 45% almost of the Chicago Bulls' overall salary cap. That makes sense. And Lonzo Ball is an expiring contract. And I know the Ball family stands are going to be like, oh my God, this and that. But they could very well be looking to move Lonzo if they can get value back. Now, is that likely? I don't think that it's going to. It's an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year. Injuries are one of the biggest complications, even with his contract is not that expensive, really, when you look at the grand scheme of things and where the NBA's gone. But I think overall, the problem that the Bulls would have in moving Lonzo Ball just comes down to the injury and the fact that he's a free agent at the end of the season. So unless a team looks at Lonzo and says that we need him for a run that we're trying to go on in this playoffs, I don't think you're going to get great value out of moving Lonzo Ball. But one could say it's better than him walking for nothing in the offseason, which is a possibility. But for opposing teams looking at Lonzo Ball, you got to look at it and say, let Chicago continue to be the experiment for him this season to see how much he's going to be able to return, at what level and what consistency, and then we can use that data to give him his next deal, unless they just need him for something this season. But the Bulls trying to move on from Lonzo isn't at all surprising to me. I do think that a couple of seconds, unfortunately, is probably what you're going to get, and I'm not saying that's the value of Lonzo if and when he's fully healthy, but considering the circumstances, I do think that you're not getting a whole lot back for Lonzo Ball if you're able to move him. It's more the cap relief that you're hoping to get, and even then, you're getting that relief at the end of the season potentially. So what's to do there? And then the Zach LaVine aspect of this. This is one thing that people have gone up and down on so much, and it's changed so much even from last season around this time to this season. And I think Zach and his production this year has definitely warranted him getting net more back than what you would have gotten last year. And I think overall the Bulls have to be looking at a very lightly protected first-round pick or an unprotected first-round pick, depending on where that team is slated to be. And that's probably what needs to happen here for Zach. And I know people are going to say, well, what about that? We need Dalton Connect back. We need this back. If the Bulls are moving on from these guys, it's not to all of a sudden field some amazing roster now. It's to go younger, maintain their ability to keep and it may be picks, not even just this year's pick. I think we also got to look at it as the fact that, the Bulls may be in this thing for a long haul. Like, they have the first round pick that's top 10 protected this year to the Spurs, but then it's top 6 protected each of the next 2 years as well. And the Bulls could be looking at, hey, we could need 3 years to get this thing together. Could be. I'm not saying I don't want that to happen. Let me be clear here. Do I want to see 3 years of bad Bulls basketball? Hell no. But there is a possibility of that. And I think that we have to understand that it could be that. Right now, odds makers put Zach LaVine at a 48% chance to be traded. And considering how difficult it is to get trades done at the trade deadline, and especially for all the things going on with Zach, that's a pretty high chance that that's going to happen. We'll see, right? And it really determines the one thing that a lot of people are concerned about, for the people that want to see the Bulls maintain this pick, is that if the Bulls fall in love with the performance and production that Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic are giving, and once again think, hey, we're not that far off, let's just do XYZ, they can very well hold on to them. And then we could be in this whole thing again for another 3 or 4 years. So we'll see where that goes. But another interesting thing that I wanted to talk about, and this article actually came out a couple of days ago, and I've been kicking back and forth if I wanted to discuss it, mainly because I don't think that there's a chance of it happening, but it does lay out a very a crazy case here. So Ryan Daltarive, I believe is how you pronounce it. Ryan Daltarive is a writer here. He wrote an article on more evidence that Billy Donovan will be fired this season, and he lays out a really compelling case. He talks about starts off with this saying that that Bulls fans have been programmed for about 3 years to watch an elite defense. And he talks about the fact that they barely took any three-point attempts, and that right now the Bulls have completely switched the type of product that they're putting out there. No longer do we have the elite level defense. We're out there trying to stretch the floor more. We're shooting more three-pointers. And they say that could be a reason, and the fact that we have switched that and not had the success that we've had, that with scoring being at an all-time high, that the Bulls could be, that the fact they're on the losing side of this just shows that Billy Donovan isn't the coach for this. He also points out the fact that there's lack of effort, focus, and discipline by the Chicago Bulls, and I don't think anybody can knock that. Lack of focus and discipline. Listen, we look at the turnovers we have. Look at the lack of pick and roll defense. Now, yes, some of that does come down to the roster that we have here as well. But overall, like, this Bulls and the defense and the struggles that we've had have been loud for a long time, right? And so that the struggles that this team is going through right now, it could, and if the team truly does want to go on some type of pseudo retooling, major retooling, because I don't think it's going to be a complete teardown and rebuild. It's going to be a major retooling. You got to ask yourself, what is the palette that Billy Donovan really has that as a coach that's been adamant about not wanting to go through rebuilds before, right? And so this is a really interesting article and read. You look at the fouls, the Bulls, he points out that the Bulls are top 8 in the league at foul rate, which is crazy, right? That shows that lack of discipline. We're allowing the most three-point makes and the best shooting percentage against the Bulls so far this season. There are so many things that are working against the Bulls. You see Matt Eberflus? No, not that bad. But it is bad when you look at it and it comes down to it. So you really got to look at what's going on here, right? And I think that that's something that we definitely got to look at as well. So overall, I'll say this. Does Billy Donovan have a chance to be, is he likely to be fired? I still say no. And I think personally that a big part of the reason why Billy Donovan probably won't be removed comes down to the incompetence of the front office to build a roster. As long as this roster has the glaring holes that it has, there's always going to be an excuse to be made of, hey, what could Billy do if we just give him a little bit more? And I think that this front office, as well as Billy Donovan's relationship with the Reinsdorf, is probably going to keep Billy Donovan around the Bulls organization for a while. But I guess we'll see. All right, let's get into the voicemails for today, man. This first voicemail, this one's from BKR.
Well, not the Australian stallion himself, Josh Giddey, but an Australian nonetheless calling in here. Just want to say after that Boston Celtics game, the most frustrating thing for the Bulls at the moment is the fact that we have this expectation of the comeback. And I feel like that's the worst formula for success that you can have in sport. Because yes, there's games where the Bulls struggle and they come back, they make it hype, they make it crazy, they make it fun. And that's awesome. And the feeling is amazing when that happens. But you can't expect that. You can't allow teams like the Boston Celtics to go up and get 39 points and lead by 9 going to the second quarter. I know 9 points isn't a crazy red-hot amount, but it's still a lot against the Celtics. And then, yes, okay, cool, we come back, and then we let it up, and then we come back, and then we let it up, and we completely fall apart. But that 39-point first quarter killed us, and the 42-point fourth quarter killed us. I get that, but you look at every single game in the season, and the Bulls struggle early, and they allow teams to get away from them. And then, yes, the hype and the motivation is there to bring it back, but it's not going to be happening every night, and it's definitely not going to happen most times, because teams knows how the Bulls play. And the Bulls play with the expectation that it's going to get hot, and when it gets hot, it's going to fire up. But teams like the Orlando Magic, you can't give a lead up to them because they're a heavily defensive team. Just everyone in general, you can't allow these significant leads to just continuously happen where we have to chase, because most of the time, these other teams aren't just going to let up, and it's not going to happen. Occasionally, sure. Occasionally, but it's not going to happen every night. Get around the Australian stallion. Aussie. Oi, oi, oi.
Shout out to BKR leaving his voicemail, man. I appreciate it, sending me a voice message. Are relying too much on the comeback factor. And, I've called this offense the button mashing offense. And I still think that comparison holds true. Like, this team is just out there doing shit. And sometimes when they look good, it's going to be great. Like, the Bulls are relying, they have no defense to back on. They're relying on getting hot from the floor, really being the thing that keeps them, puts them back in games. They do have to come back from a lot of deficits. Even not the double-digit ones. The Bulls get out to a lot of pretty sizable deficits that they got to come back from. They're always playing from behind in a lot of these games. So, yeah, it's just not sustainable, right? That's the thing that I keep saying. And even, the Bulls fans that try to say, like, oh, this team could still be around 40 wins. Like, the way that the Bulls playing are just, like, they would have to be so lucky over the course of a full season to really be able to do that. And it's not likely. It's not likely something that's going to be able to be maintained. And so, again, always go to point differential. That is the thing that usually always ends up playing out. The Bulls have the point differential of a 25-win team. And unless that changes drastically, that's probably where their lot's going to be in life, because the law of averages eventually averages out. And that's just what I think. And you're not wrong, BKR. Great voicemail from BKR. Y'all better make sure y'all go check out BKR Sport. He's a great YouTuber, man. Y'all go check him out. All right, let's get into the next voicemail. This one's from Michael Korn.
Hey, Hayes, Mike Korn here. I just heard your podcast. It's Monday. I should have been focused on the driving, but actually I'm on the side here to tell you, you presented the duality. That's mind-blowing that the pendulum swung so much from defense to offense like that dramatically. Do you remember a time any team really things got turned upside down like that? Helter-skelter, man. But what I took note of what you mentioned was Bulls getting stopped, that their half-court defense, people are figuring them out. Part of that, the guys need to be moving more, but I don't really see lots of pick and rolls where it's an effective pick or an effective screen. I don't see the Bulls doing that in the half court that much. Maybe that could help and will translate into better defense. Because just thinking your opponents, if they're stopping you half court, they're getting to the paint faster than your back, and so, but anyway, hey, great analysis. We'll talk with you later. Thanks.
How much have the Bulls gone from offense? It's been such a stark difference on how this team has gone. And per everything that you pointed out, we have no real half-court offense. Playing fast is great, but you still need something to default on. We don't run pick and rolls. We don't run screens. We don't run off-ball actions for it. We don't move without the ball consistently. And we did that some at the start of the season, but it's back to being the same thing. I look at that as personally being coaching. That's the personal way that I look at that. And so, yeah, the way that the Bulls have made such a stark difference from going from where they were offensively the last few years to being this offensive team that, you just look at the metrics, the offense looks damn good, but it's that defense is just really wearing down this team. And so it doesn't have any type of defensive identity. They have no half-court identity. It really just comes down to how lucky are the Bulls going to get shooting, how hot are the Bulls going to get shooting that night, on any given night. And that's a difficult thing to live and die by in the NBA, and not many teams are able to do it at a level that's sustainable and winning. They're just not. And I don't trust the Bulls to be able to do that because of what we've seen. So we'll see how it goes. Maybe I could be wrong, but overall, we'll see. We'll see. All right, let's get into this next voicemail. This one's from Mello.
Yo, what's going on, Hayes? It's Mello. Just wanted to get your opinion on a couple of things. Because I'm looking at recently how the Bulls been playing. More so Zach and Vooch. So with how well they've actually been playing, do you think they should try to make a move prior to the trade deadline or just wait up until that point? And if they do, who do you think the Bulls could really get for them? I know they're not going to be moved together. If that happened, that'd be shocking. But I'm looking at a lot of different teams. And mainly for Zach, I'm still looking at the Lakers. And I'm looking at how great the rookie is playing for them. What's the boy's name? Dalton Connect. Like, with his emergence, do you think that makes them more prone to possibly moving Austin Reeves? Because I know before they said he was completely off the table. But if they're looking to move to get Zach, you think now that he's playing as good as he's playing, and then the guy Connect playing as good as he's playing, does that make Austin Reeves more like of a viable option for the Bulls? And even if the Bulls wanted to possibly move Vooch to the Lakers, what they could possibly give, because I hear the Lakers are looking for a big that they could put alongside AD, moving forward. And if they get either one of those guys or possibly Rui involved in the deal or something like that, just wanted to get your opinion on it. I see where.
All right, making moves because of Zach and Vooch's play. I think that could very well be. Now, I think that, like I said earlier in the earlier opening segment of this show, I think it got to get back to, you're not going to get a key asset back. I just don't think that you are. Ask for it, go for it. Don't say that you're not asking for it, right? Go and see what you can get. But I think ultimately, what if we're getting those guys, we're looking at cap relief, we're looking at the draft compensation that we can get back, and maybe some young, unproven players that maybe have just been sitting away on the back end of the bench that could gain some from opportunity that kind of falls in line with what we've done with some of our other signings. Maybe that, but I don't think you're getting a connect back. You're not getting a connect back in a move like that for Zach LaVine. And I get why people are asking for that. I get why people want that. You're not wrong for that. But I just think when you survey the outlook of this, you're probably not getting that back. Now, if you do, great. Like, that would be one of the best forward-thinking moves that the front office has made. I just don't necessarily trust it right now. But I guess we'll see. All right, let's get into the next voicemail, man. This one's from Brandon L. Jet.
Man, Hayes, what's going on? Brandon Eljet here. Took me a minute to calm down from watching that game tonight. Very, very disappointing in regards to the Bulls losing to the champions, whatever, after such a valiant effort. But it's just been a frustrating time going on right now. It's not just the Bulls, but Chicago sports teams in general. But we're going to center this back on just the Bulls because I don't want to get into a tangent. But Billy Donovan, man, what the hell is this guy doing? Why does this nigga even still have a job? I'm sick of this fool. I'm sick of this gum-chewing bitch that just sits here walking around like shit is sweet just because he has guaranteed job security that nobody can fire his punk ass while his team sit up here and just be mediocre to below average every single year. His team is sitting up here playing his heart out, putting up points at a elite level, but they have no defense to save their life. They're not even trying anymore. You don't have any defensive schemes. You don't have any defensive coverages. You don't have anybody out there communicating upon defense. And you have all these young folks out here at least putting up an effort to put up 120 points a game, but you're giving up 125 to 130 points a game. You're giving up 40-point quarters at an astronomical level and sitting up here day after day, year after year, week after week, month after month, just losing seasons. And it's getting, frankly, tiresome. How does this man still have a job? I'm going to just leave it right there. Fuck this shit, man. I'm out. Salute to you, Hayes. Peace.
Shout out to the general there, man. As far as why Billy Donovan's job security just comes down to this: incompetence from the front office to build a roster. And I said this in the opening segment: as long as this front office continues to build let me not say whack ass roster, that's not true. Continues to build a unbalanced roster that's just missing so many glaring things that you need to be successful in the modern NBA. Billy Donovan's always going to have an excuse. There's always going to be an excuse that they can make for keeping Billy Donovan around. Immediately, oh yeah, we feel like with some added size, we added some rim protection. We want to give Billy. Oh well, we needed some on ball creation. Like there's always going to be something there. And I think until this front office realizes, or a new front office comes in, or whatever, or Billy Donovan again moves to the front office himself, taking over, from Mark Eversley, if he ever moves on. Those type of things, until those things happen, Billy Donovan's probably gonna have a job here for a while. And I listen, I agree with you. You've gotten a worse record every year. Every single year for the last 3 years, the Bulls have technically gotten worse. And so because of that, and we're on pace to be our worst yet, like the Bulls have made the playoffs 3 times in the last 10 years. 3 times in the last 10 years. Like, and of course, that's not all on Billy Donovan, but you got to look at that as well and say, hey, man. Now, I mean, one could say, well, Billy Donovan did bring us some of those years. Like, okay, cool. But it's just, it sits in such a bad place where this front office is right now. I mean, where this team and franchise is right now, that I do think eventually you need to look to move on from your coach. Will they do it? I don't know. I guess we'll see. All right, let's get into the last voicemail from the day, man. This one's from Corn.
Hey, what it don't do, King? It's your brother Corn, man. Let's get right into this, man. I want to talk about Miles Buzelis and the lack of time and what I feel like is going on. Maybe I'm having PTSD, or remember I said married chick or some shit a while back in the chat. That was a mistake. I meant to say, do you think that Billy is going to Marko Simonovic? Yes, Marko Simonovic. Miles Buzelis. Because it seems like we don't play him at all. We've been trying to send him to the D-League. I just don't get it when it comes to that, The kid deserves a little bit more playing time, man. Just playing him, a little bit in the beginning and then none at all in the second half. You can splash him in there for a good 2 to maybe even 3 minutes, man. But maybe, like I said, maybe I'm just having old PTSD as an old fan, seeing an old promised European player that was once, and then there's, if memory do serve me correctly, they're almost similar in a way. I know that Simonovic is a little bit bigger. He's 6'11". I think he was more of a center, right? But I kind of see the same shit that's going on with Simonovic going on with Modest. Maybe I'm thinking too much into it. Maybe I'm, you know what I'm saying, like I said, overreacting. I don't know, man. But that's what I think is going on. Do you think that right now, as of right now, do you see similarities of careers of where they at right now that you see Modest is going the same route as Marko Simonovic? Tell me what you think, brother. You know, I always appreciate you, what you do, King. Blessings. Love you. All right, C-Red. Blessings, y'all. Peace.
Listen, no, I can't make the Modest Marko comparisons because Modest Bucilis has already played more minutes than Marko Simonovic did his entire run here with the Bulls in just a rookie season that he's barely played in. So I can't make that comparison. I don't think that they're doing that. I don't even think Billy Donovan knew who Marko Simonovic was. He knows who Modest Bucilis is. And Marko Simonovic also was a second-round pick, late first-round pick, something like that. Like, Modest Bucilis is the high. They're not going to Marko Modest Bucilis. Now, I do think that he's doing what he's done to, like, Dalen as far as not playing him a lot his rookie year. But even then, he's playing more than Dalen. So, you know, I think we're going to wait and see to how this roster looks after the trade deadline. Because I think if we do move on from Zach, we do move on from Vooch, at that point, there's going to open up a lot of minutes for Modest Bucilis. And we could very well see the last 30, whatever many games over the season, Modest Bucilis has a lot of minutes that he gets to play. So we'll see what happens with that one. But I just think it's more poorly planned development from this Bulls coaching staff. They don't have a development plan. Now, while Peter Patton is working with Modest Bucilis a lot one-on-one, I just think this coaching staff doesn't have the plan to get him on court minutes consistently. And the moment that they have any reason, we need defense, let's play THC, that pulls Modest Bucilis' minutes down. And it's just unfortunate. And hopefully it changes sooner rather than later. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following the show at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullscentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that's thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See you ready if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.